innovation in education. Thank you very much. Thank you.
There are volunteers around. Please start passing on questions so that I try linking them up and put it back to the panel members. Please remember some of the ideas are coming up, their personal experiences, their personal role models, the challenges they've had and how quickly they're taking that. Please remember that beyond this also we are going to request them during lunchtime in case the question is not answered. Think of, but be very precise that you get the best out of the panelists. May I request Dr. Sudhakar to go ahead and please pass on the questions you have to the volunteers if it comes back.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'm extremely delighted to be here, being in midst of so many young people and in a business school and in a great setting, and also talking about a topic which is something very close to my heart, and that's my day job, So, thanks for this opportunity to IIM Udaipur. First thing is, there are only three things that I want to talk about. Every speaker talked about the definition of innovation, what is innovation, what are some of the things that people are doing. Starting with the definition for innovation, sometime back I read in Economist, which says that, it's a great definition by the way. I think it says something like this, it's fresh thinking that creates value. I mean, there are only two words, right? It talks about fresh thinking. So whatever ideas that you are coming out with, that is something which has to be new. If it is already been done, then it's not novel, so probably that's not innovation. So it should be fresh. The second thing is, it should create value. At the end of it, you may have great ideas, you may see a lot of pictures, and this can be done, that can be done, it is cool, all those kind of things. But at the end of it, in the business context, if it doesn't make money, it is not innovation. I come from corporate setting, so whatever I'm going to speak now, I'm trying to bring the perspective from the corporate and trying to generalize it when we want to make India an innovation hub. In the corporate setting, whenever we work on ideas, some of the things that we want to come out with a universal definition for innovation. So the definition we try to use is all about putting new ideas to work to create distinctive competitive advantage. That's the definition that we use. Putting new ideas to work. So one is you need to come out with new ideas, and just because you come out with ideas, you won't become a hero like all the people talked about. You need to go through the implementation phase. That means you are putting it to work. The third piece is just because we implemented an idea and proved that this works doesn't mean anything. You need to create distinctive competitive advantage. That means you should be generating value, you should be generating wealth. Now that is in a corporate setting, right? Now if you want to talk about something like a country and you want to put similar definitions in place, the way you can think about is again putting ideas, new ideas to work to bring about change. If you look at what Mr. Pradeep talked about in the beginning, the keynote speech, it clearly talking about the rural marketing, the Project Shakti. I mean, I happened to listen to a presentation on Project Shakti, so I know a little bit more about it. So it clearly talks about you're bringing about a social change, and that in a country setting it becomes extremely important. So the definition, these are the key aspects you need to keep in mind. First thing. Second thing, if you go back 10-20 years back, or if you talk to a lot of people, the conception about innovation is all about, okay, this is a lot of research. It has to come from an academic institutions like MIT or IIT or those kind of things, or it has to be a product, or it has to be a lot of capex that is involved. So the definitions are very different. Really, if you look at all the examples that the earlier speakers have shown, the definitions are not, the innovation is not about a product. Sometimes it's not about a product. If you look at the Starbucks coffee, the experiments have proven that the coffee is not a great coffee, taste-wise. But the way they created the environment around it, the experience that they create in the Starbucks, facility, that's what is the innovation there. Or if you talk about any of the other examples, if you look at iPad, what we call as a great innovation. If you look at all the pieces within an iPad, everything is something which has been there before. It's nothing totally novel, but the way the whole thing is put together, the way the business model innovation has been done is something which is different. As students of business school, you need to start understanding that innovation is not about research in a academic lab like a engineering school or a technology organization. I'm not saying that it's not important, that's extremely important, but at the same time, you need to look at the entire value chain in terms of how the product is sold, what are the different distribution channels, how the customers perceive it. You need to start thinking about the holistic view and start thinking about where you can innovate. So we talked about the definition of innovation, where you can innovate. So there are many examples where you can innovate different things. The most important piece that I want to talk about is what is called as innovation ecosystem. People these days are not competing on products. You may have a great product. For example, we talked about Tata Nano. Tata Nano, technically, if you look at it, great features, cost-wise it is low, but having said that, it's not as much of a success as people perceived it to be, or as the Tatas expect it to be. It is all about you need to start thinking about what is the ecosystem you are creating, and are you competing with the other ecosystems which are equally strong, and how do you make your ecosystem more competitive? Now let me talk a little bit more about what is ecosystem. When you talk about ecosystem, there are a few attributes that you need to consider to define an ecosystem. The first thing is about the academia, the academic or research partnerships. What kind of academic and research partnerships are there? The second thing is the availability of talent. The third one is access to low-cost labor. Fourth one is the infrastructure, the IP infrastructure, intellectual property infrastructure, the legal infrastructure, things like the SECs, STPIs, all these things the government promotes, the government frameworks. Those things become extremely important. And then the fifth one will be the access to the market, the customers and the market. When you have all these pieces, then you can say that you have got a good ecosystem to innovate. Also the funding mechanisms and the funding sources, the venture capitalists and the angel investors, those people need to be there. Then only that innovation will succeed. Why this whole thing is important is if India wants to become an innovation hub, we need to start thinking about where should India become an innovation hub, on which areas India should become an innovation hub. It's not about doing innovation, it's about becoming an innovation hub. What it means is, what are the innovation ecosystems we will create in this country? Is it an aerospace ecosystem? Is it a automobile ecosystem? Is it a pharmaceutical industry ecosystem? What are those ecosystems that we want to create? When you say you want to create that ecosystem, you need to now start getting into the attributes that I talked about earlier. Do we have the world-class research facilities and academic institutions in these areas? Do we have the talent which is globally competitive in these areas? Do we have access to the low-cost labor to do the production and things like that? Do we have the funding mechanisms? If an entrepreneur comes with an idea, are there opportunities to provide funding to take this idea to fruition? And then finally, the entire setting of do we have the customer and market base within this country for these things? So we need to look at all these parameters and start thinking about what are the ecosystems we want to develop in the country, and also be competitive. If you don't develop that entire ecosystem, whereas if you just focus on a research institution or just on a customer access, that won't be successful. So the point I want to make strongly is about, it's all about competing on ecosystems and understanding what is an ecosystem, where we want to compete, and then the question comes, how do we want to do it? Thanks for your time, and I'm sure we will.
We are not leaving you. Please come back. Thank you very much. Sorting out the questions. The way I'm saying is that my request is now as we quick round. Same thing, I will start with the ecosystem. My request is two things. Very important in the mind of the young MBAs. How do I add value in the innovation chain? So suppose you are recruiting two of these graduates from this business school, and I am one of those MBAs. And what is it you expect from me? You set up That is one. Second is you can start with also with your ecosystem. Like if Jugaad is the ecosystem versus system is the ecosystem. What system I have for fostering innovation in my system, and I'll start from that side. So briefly, then my request is less than a minute. Just quickly, what do you expect from the MBAs to add to your system if they get selected for innovation? Second is what is the environment or the ecosystem in terms of any of the parameters that Sudhakar was saying, or all of the parameters? Maybe less than a minute, just quick round, so I go to the next one. The next one. Please pass.
So let me take the first question, which is what do we look for from a fresh MBA student? The department in Accenture which I am leading is called Global Talent and Innovation Network. But the emphasis on the word I is the least sad. That's the reality. So we are making conscious efforts to bring in element of innovation in whatever we do in terms of my own work. So when I look at my set of MBAs I have in my kitty, it's what is that which allows them to be most innovative is one, ability to question the normal. Able to question the normal things. What you take for granted and be questioned. Questioned with some logic, not blind question. Two, ability to take risk with a probability of success or a probability of failure, which also puts the company's bonus to say how much we allow the risk taking in terms of it's the blood for allowing the risk to be taken. So these are two things I look for.
May I request you to pass it on? Just quickly, how do you look at from Bombay Dyeing, how do you look at Reliance, how do you look from
In Bombay Dyeing we feel we're into the retail and the fashion industry. So we give more emphasis into the imagination of the person and the thought process.
So imagination, can you more elaborate on imagination?
Imagination means when we launch a product in the market. You see, perceive the need of future and how to come out with the new idea of the product for the consumers. So that's one of the areas which is most interesting.
Thank you. Many of you, I think, learned the Harvard Business School is stories on leadership. Seeing the unseen, what they were just saying, is a time in 1971. Stories, seeing the unseen, wearing the honor. That is the quality of the leader. Thank you.
Since I come from the world of advertising, and in advertising there is a facet which is called account planning or strategy. There's always a debate between the people who come up with the strategy and the people who come up with the creative. And the whole fight is over why do we need to do research, because if I'm a creative person I should know how to find that insight. Now that's a very important point when it comes to innovation, because the Zuzu was not done out of any research, because you can't do a research to find out whether the person who watches television is going to like the Zuzu. It comes from a deep insight within you that you know that if you can surprise. The key thing about innovation, I think, is the element of surprise. And that surprise, I mean, nobody told you that there is a way that you can find out that the Walkman is going to be the biggest thing. So therefore, it is the way you study insights and convert that into an idea. The big idea is meant to be what really matters. And in that, I just want to mention one thing. Since the question was about how I look at you, I would always want to ask you if you have come to me with a proposition as to why there is a question that I've asked you, because chances are you will come with the how and the what. The problem is that we as Indians, we have been taught very well how to do the how and the what, and therefore this whole thing about, with all respect to everybody, I know that there are great people in Silicon Valley, but the fact is that there are some people who know the why, and because they know the why, they get Indians to do the how and the what, and the fame goes to those people who ask that question why. So I would always want to know whether you have that answer to the why. If you have the answer to the why, the how and the what will follow.
Thank you, Raisa. I think some of you are talking about LS Murthy. I was interacting with some of you. You said we did a very good case analysis. I hope what the message you are hearing is, in addition to what and how, can you get more into why? So that's a very strong message. Thank you, Raisa. Over to Jain sir.
I will quote Steve Jobs, the
stay hungry and stay foolish. There has to be ambition and continuously be hungry and stay foolish. There has to be tremendous amount of curiosity. Don't take things as every time challenge. And the third quality is exclusive execution.
So ambition, hungry, then you said, all three. So if you are looking at me as a candidate, you look at these three qualities, whether I am demonstrating it enough. Thank you very much.
I think from my perspective, two important things, and there are a lot of things, but two most important things are, one is ability to bring the customer insights. At the end of it, innovation is something which starts and ends with the customer. If you are not able to really understand what customer is wanting, if you are not able to bring that insight, it's not about the facts about the customer and voice of the customer, but about an insight about the customer. That's the most important thing. The second thing is obviously execution. Most of the time, innovations fail because of lack of execution, and I'm sure a lot of discussions are happening in the organization. These are the two critical things.
Thank you. I just want to tell you, Dr. Sikit Prahlad, I think one of his last pieces I was talking in the mind he has done 2 or 3 great examples from India in the book New Ways of Innovation. He and other Michigan professor wrote together. They have quoted, including all others, the ICX studies. They talked both about execution and the innovation in the points that we are mentioning about. Thank you very much. I will now change gears. We'll come back to you all as our leaders are rising now. What have you done to foster innovation and using the idea of the ecology of innovation, ecological the ecosystem. So what ecosystem you got to go to be innovative? Because I don't think we are not innovative, definitely we are not innovative. We are not another professional way. How did you grow up in spite of the challenges? Because many of us have grown up in a generation of scarcity. So how did you grow up? How did you continue to innovate? 1 minute each, what challenges you faced? Then quickly will change them. What does your company facilitate? We have now challenges. When I do a lot of 360 find all over the country, facilitating innovation is one of the challenges leaders face. First is how you grew up. How did you manage the challenge of innovation? And what would you do in your set of create an ecosystem? Maybe a minute each, so 30 seconds for your experience growing up and being innovative, and how do you first?
I think it becomes a cliche, but at the same time, challenging the status quo is one thing which is very, very important. If you keep looking at your business opportunities, whatever you are doing, can you do something differently? Can you do something for the better?
Specific example, PhD, highly accomplished, but you must have got really rash. So how did you manage overcoming that and still being innovative? It's not a PhD.
See, what happens is most of the times in organizations there are lots of ideas. They are all floating around. If you go and collaborate with other friends, everybody has got very good ideas. Now bringing all the people together and going to the right senior leaders, approaching them and putting this idea across and influencing them. You need to convince. It's not going to be.
You had an idea, you really challenged, went to CEO, went to somebody else of the past role.
See, I was in the role, and our executive vice president, who is the CEO, whose name is Ram Ramakrishnan. We came out with one of the ideas to, one of our actually junior engineers came out with that idea, and we took it to him, and actually we proposed that idea to many people in the organization, and we didn't get a real good response. Not giving up then, and then when the right opportunity comes, going to very senior people and building the credibility. Unless you have the credibility, obviously you can't go to them. Before moving to the senior leaders, build the credibility and go and approach the senior leaders. I'm sure you will get the response 1 out of 5 times at least.
Thank you. He's talking about sponsorship of innovation. I think all youngsters, please remember, I think Professor Janath is trying to do in the team leadership, mentoring, identify mentors, identify buyer sponsors, so your innovation goes in. They can be somewhere and then you can find the innovation. What do you do in your setup to, suppose I join as an engineer or a technocrat or a manager, what are 2 things you do in your ecosystem so that I will complete it?
One is clearly the talent piece. We hire only the people who have certain qualities, like that perseverance. Don't get disheartened when there is a failure. So those are some of the behavioral aspects we really look for. It's not just about the technical excellence. So that's one of the key pieces. When people enter into the organization, we look for the right mindset. Second thing is we promote that culture by giving them an opportunity to go and visit customers. When they go and visit the customers and when they bring back and share that knowledge with larger group of people, that is one more thing which helps them to grow.
Thank you, Dr. May I pass you? James, you started what you do for your youngsters. If I join the IIMU, India, how does your ecosystem make sure that I
basically, we take people from industry. So what we do is provide them opportunity to work first with the customer. Unless you understand the customers, you can't challenge the organization. So it's very, very important that they have to work with the customers to understand what the customer needs are, and then we encourage. There is a involvement of the senior management in the new recruits which are there. My boss will also be involved, and he will get the time. So there is a commitment of the entire organization that the young talent two things, working with the customer and tremendous support from the organization and senior management.
Thank you. Sponsorship and awareness commitment and customer centricity. I think the message is coming very clearly. May I ask a very little late, sir? Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Back to you. You didn't grow up just like that. You must have paid a lot of price. You have stayed innovative in spite of the country, in spite of the system, in spite of the resource constraints. What did you do? You can tell one incident, maybe young age.
Basically, I will talk of when I started in the Indian industry, healthcare industry. The infectious diseases and acute care illnesses was a major problem in this country. But today, if I look lifestyle diseases like diabetes, hypertension, a big problem in this country. So 1992, when we went with the proposal that we have to change the product profile of the company, everyone said that we are doing the wrong route, it won't make a difference, we are sinking funds. So we work with the customers, we work with the top diabetologists of the country, we created a lot of epidemiological studies in this country, we went in collaboration with the best companies of our own models and created the total range of the products. And today, like say, when we started, everybody used to say diabetes is a rich man disease, incidence is 2%, but now, if we see that there cannot be any family where there cannot be any diabetes patient. But it was a journey to create ownership in the organization with the customers. There were failures in the initial stage. We didn't make money, but there was support of top management over a period of time. Initially, yes, there was resistance to software. Then you start demonstrating that with the customer database that it is the right thing to do, and then for the years it remains the same.
So customer centricity, proactivity, seeing ahead of time, staying focused. So when your chips are down, can you tell one or two people who supported you? Do you remember those people?
Yeah, initially it's the customer who supported and the sales force who supported, because my top management could see the opportunity which was there. So there were many times that whether we were taking the things right, because top management is the customer. So they don't support many of the time. They will say that you are doing the wrong thing, then you have to persist, you have to demonstrate small success. And sometimes they can be a great champion of your cause, because they are closer to the customer, they are seeing the trend, they are seeing early success. So when you take top management to the customer and to the sales, it starts building.
Thank you. So customer centricity, keeping your ears close to the market and influencing upwards, staying focused and persevere. Roy sir, how does Reliance encourage what is the ecosystem for Jugaad or organizing, innovative and making, and how did you go inspired of?
I think if I had to observe Reliance, one thing that comes out very clearly is the DNA of the organization lies with the founder. And I think this obviously does not happen because you don't always define yourself like that. But if there was something like you asked Dilbhai Ambani, why you exist and the why part of it, I think you would have said that I exist because I want to be successful by empowering a lot of other people. I think that is the DNA of Reliance. If you really look at it from the point of view of moving out into a retail framework work in terms of equity, where ordinary people who never would have thought of investing in a company, and getting the money from those some 25 lakh people to come in as investors. That is the DNA of the company which still continues. And that I think is a wonderful way of ensuring, it's a question that you ask yourself, which is, whatever you're doing right now, will it empower the masses? If it does not empower the masses, this is not worth doing. It's not about being mass market. It's not about doing a business which will be sort of having a huge market. It's not that. It's about ensuring that you're going to be doing a business in which in some way will touch the, the bottom end of the pyramid, so to speak. That I think is what I have observed, and I think it's a way of ensuring that you're always on the right track.
I am not a large shareholder. I own 5 or 10 shares and it has grown. But if you read the annual report, you'll find year after year there are messages of risk-taking innovation and getting closer to the shareholder as a customer. Now, little about yourself. I know you said you are a creative person and rising to the president and being in the chairman's office is not a very small task. I remember some of you work with Jack Wells or with Mr. Narayanamurthy, and you have been consistently there. So, how did you continue to be innovative in spite of being, one knows about Dhirubhai Ambani and one knows about Mukeshji, and changing with times, helping the company changing with times with your innovation? How did you manage that for struggle? How did you continue to be innovative?
It's a tough question because you have I believe that, when you say that you're a creative person, I would like to believe that we're all very creative people, because at the end of it, there is something very creative in all of us. And I remember this fight between the father and the son. This was my brother-in-law who had a tea garden, and his son wanted to be a filmmaker, and he told his father, I'll never join your business because you're not creative. And the father, who was a tea garden owner, he was very hurt, because he said that you realize how much creativity goes into putting up a tea plantation. So I like to believe that we're all creative. And the only thing that I think has helped me to be where I am today is the fact that I try to think in an original way. By that I mean that at times you actually push yourself to come up with something which somebody has not done. Because when you try and replicate another idea, there's nothing wrong with it for as long as you actually replicate it in an original way. Let me give you an example of that. What I mean by that is that suppose you were to take the whole idea of the dabba wala. It's not about creating another system by which you will reach dabbas to people, but within that there is an idea. The idea of the hub and the spoke, and how each small part is contributing and actually making that work. I would expect that if you can make that happen, that's equally an original execution of an idea that has been already executed by somebody else, but you're using it in another way. So I like to believe that in my life, what I've always tried to do is to try and look at it in a different way, do it in a different way, not trying to copy somebody else and what they have done. And I suppose that has been also my mantra, because though I'm old-fashioned in a way, because we're all Indians and we're all very courteous and all that, but at the same time, I think irreverence is a very important requirement. I mean, unless you're irreverent, you can't quite challenge the system, because you're always need to believe that you have to follow what your boss says. Now, your boss is supposed to be telling you what to do, but that doesn't mean the boss expects you to say yes to everything. What you're supposed to be demonstrating is not an irreverent attitude, but you're supposed to be perhaps expressing your irreverent creativity, which means that you have a creative zeal in you, which is irreverent. And therefore you are always going to, maybe humbly and your own style, come up with a suggestion which actually the boss might say, yes, that's a pretty good idea. Let me try that. I think it's not about every boss being like that, but I think I've been fortunate. So I don't want to give the credit to myself. I like to believe that I've been fortunate in being able to demonstrate originality or creativity or whatever it is. And I've also been fortunate for the fact that I've had bosses who recognize it and let me do it. I've made mistakes. And I think Reliance, if you ask me, is a wonderful place where if you make a mistake, nobody ever tells you that. That's because everybody's making mistakes in Reliance, and that's recognized.
Yes, please be aware, I think, be very sensitive to the idea. John Butterfield back in 1978 or something wrote an article called Managing Your Boss. You think that politics is Indian reality. There is certainly what Mr. Roy is saying, having supportive bosses, but it also means he has understood the bosses. He's managed with both the father and son, and then the different CEOs of different LOBs. It's not very easy. And he worked with Mudra, HTA, a very complex environment, worked, influenced, understood, and still persevered, showing the disagreement with the bosses. I go back to Devashish and still passing on question. So how is it how you grew up in spite of your technical excellence and managerial excellence, and how does your organization?
No, coming to your first question, that what kind of personal challenges we had faced in our earlier time. You see, I started my career in the export marketing. So I used to travel a lot in those days, and I used to be a salesman. So the one of the innovative idea at that point of time which I implemented is that in those point of time, whosoever used to travel, it has to be the salesperson or the other person of the organization. I realized that if the designer can travel along with the salesperson, the understanding of the customer's need can be much better understood and accordingly can be implemented. So in my earlier time, I was one of the pioneers from the textile industry who introduced of taking of designer in the sales too, not for a trade fair or not for any other seminar. And later on, it became a fashion in the industry, and everybody started following in the same manner.
After this, I'll pass on some specific questions, but I'm sure coming from a good engineering college or a good business school, and Ganesh's background, he didn't start with Accenture. He says rich background. How did you manage to sell through? And what has been your journey in creating innovation in spite of the challenges? Second is, of course, you can talk, if I may request, after you talk about how Accenture facilitates, and talk about innovation and idea of social innovation. Difficult on that side. Very precisely. Yeah.
Number one, I was fortunate to be taught by a professor like Ganesh in some places. That's always been an inspiration. Having good content is very important to say. Everything else is secondary. Having good content helps you survive without innovation. So personally, in my example, lot of the minimum successes I have had came after a lot of failures. Sometimes you feel like giving up. A lot of times I felt like giving up. So whenever you see a movie, Love at First Sight or Eureka Moment, it became rich overnight, don't believe in it. So it's sheer hard work. It takes a lot of mental maturity to accept that, yep, there is light at the end of the tunnel and keep working towards it. So that is the only trait that we staying through whatever 20 years checkpoint career. In terms of company, Accenture, what we talk about is the one aspect of it which we, as a supervisor, I am very conscious of is when you are evaluating annual evaluation of a person, you give equal weightage to client-facing work and innovation. It's a very dicey game because when you compare absolute numbers, you easily can rate the guy who's doing innovation below because there is no tangible to prove what he or she has been doing. So it needs a mental makeup from the supervisory channel to say, hey, I have to give weightage to what is being done today as well as what is being done today for tomorrow. And that I think is in the evaluation.
Really what I'm doing is I'm keeping it open to the panel for questions. They'll summarize and we can Mr. Pradeep asked questions at macro level. My request is you can combine those three questions. The questions was how as a nation we can do, how we as individuals can be part of that. So Chris, please.
Yeah, I think the questions are around how to innovate around administration and beyond business in the development. answer. Still a few years back, if you asked me this question, it would be much more difficult to plan. But with the kind of technology that we have today, if I take, for example, the National Rural Employment Guarantee Program, which provides employment to 44 million people, and they spend 44,000 crore rupees annually in that program. Most states have now gone digital. They have gone electronic on making payments. Right? Therefore, it becomes much easier to innovate solutions and to ensure that leakage and corruption come down. So I think there is a lot of thought going on in how to improve the effectiveness and how to measure the output of these programs. The other thing is around bureaucracy. I think that today is the biggest stumbling block in our country, because there is no scope for innovating solutions in administration, because the legacy has been handed over to us by the British. And believe you me, the year I left the corporate sector in '87, the very next year in '89, I was appointed as a marketing advisor to the Ministry of Development. And I could just not figure out how they work. Because in the government, there is a file, yeah, and on the left side, there is a margin, and everybody has to write his comments on the file, and what is called noting. And after the noting is done, then you have a string which you tie around that thing, and there is a particular way in which you are supposed to throw the file on the ground. Create that impression that you are the IIS officer and your boss. I think the major reforms in innovation is required in these programs. And I don't have the answers for it, but I can tell you that it's the most frustrating thing when I'm asked to write notings and comments on these files, so that became part of the system for a short while. And the last question is around, how do you handle failures? This is a question I want to take up, because in our organization, we actually celebrate failures. And the average age group in my organization is exactly half my age. So obviously, people are coming from the background of fear that how will the boss supervise our age look at failure. What I tell people is, if you have applied the most uncommon thing in this world, which is common sense, then I will not hold failure against you. But if you have applied high funda, a lot of theories, and a lot of what you learn in management schools, a lot of jargon, I have banned jargon in mind. The one thing I detest is jargon, because I believe that when you don't understand something, then you hide behind that. If you understand something, then you are able to explain it much simpler. And the most difficult thing you have to do things very simple. And that's why even failure is something that we complicate. If you do things with common sense, if you do things with intuition, I think intuition is a highly undervalued commodity in management education. It must be all logic. But I believe that all answers lie within us. So we have to deep dive into our own selves to be able to come out with the right kind of answers. And failure, when we always have a meeting after the failure, we always document the failure, we always share it with the client. Because we believe that if you hide your failure from your clients, then you are not being true to the client. And our respect for our clients has gone up significantly, because they are totally open about sharing our feelings. And often the clients turn around and say to us that we understand why you fail. But if you don't share your failure, then you are trying to hide yourself behind all kinds of excuses.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I think we have to. Government, I should give an example of Karnataka. Hello. Yeah, I come from Orissa. I am told one new education commissioner took over by the name of Rajita Sarani. The moment she took over the education, the whole system is under new charge. I had a senior of mine who took over as the higher education minister. He passed 10 batches to complete his graduation. But which you think, what will you talk about education? This minister of higher education transformed the 3-4 years thing, the higher education system in Orissa. Yesterday, I was with a friend of mine in IIT Delhi. Mr. Kapil Sirwal is looking at how do we change the basic education, primary system. Pradeep talked about that. Many of you may be knowing Dr. Ashok Ganguly, who was CBSE chairman. Professor Rao and me did some work with him on changing the higher education system. We did a change management system. This continuous education in CBSE is happening not by accident. He picked up the Edward Dibono methodology. They're trying to take their own way. The idea is who brings the idea there. Is it us? Is it them? That is the point. But thank you very much for sensitizing us. Time is short, I'm aware. Can we stretch by 10 minutes? You can get more with the audience questions. Yeah, 10 more minutes. I know we started late. You came back after tea a little later, so we're taking the 10 minutes extra. So my request is each of the panelists have 1 or 2 questions. Succinctly you can respond. I have a last question to all of you because that question I'll hold on. I've already prepared, taken permission for confronting the panel. 1 minute each. Succinctly.
Okay. The question is about Mr. Ganeshan opened the presentation about volatility and ends up with repeatability. How do we link the opposite to the spectrum? Very impressive. Even in the madness, there is a method. So, whenever you see volatility is one end of the spectrum, but how do you organize the innovation culture within your company is a science. The innovation may not be science, it can be the art, but how do you tap it and convert it into execution is a science. And you have to have mechanisms which will enable it to tap it, convert it, and benefit as he was talking about the economic value of it, and able to justify the economic value. That's quickly the
I have a question about the issues about India where you're taught not to ask questions and not to be curious, and how this kills innovation, and what would you do as a strategy to encourage innovation at organization level? I think the first 2 questions are the ones which I think I would like to believe it's changing, but changing very slowly. Where I come from, you were not supposed to be asking questions, but I understand that there is a school called Udaipur International School where every child is supposed to be asking the most difficult questions, and the teacher is supposed to be answering those questions, even if they're very tough questions. No child is supposed to be punished. I wish I had grown up in that environment, but I'm 40 years behind in some way, maybe next level. Considering that things have changed, I don't think we are really living in that kind of world. But yes, if this organization allows you to state the why rather than to how and the what, I think that will be the way in which the organization will change and you will benefit from that. It's very easy to say this, but what I think is important is a demonstration of the organization that people are indeed empowered. Empowerment is, very often misunderstood, because in India everybody is empowered to go and tear up posters and codings of films which have been cleared by the authority called a censor board. So empowerment is not about going and bashing up or doing things exactly the way you want it, but empowerment is also about coming to do with things with responsibility. And that in my organization is called ownership, which really means that in an organization where you are empowered, if you come across as an owner, then it is a wonderful kind of exchange, which means that I have entrusted you to do something, I have reposed faith, and you have demonstrated to me that you are actually coming back to me as an owner of the organization and not as an employee who's just doing this for some brief moment of glory or something that is going to be just a career kind of move. but you're actually doing it for the organization. So even if you left tomorrow, your legacy is going to be there for us to do something bigger in the years to come. That I think is the way in which an organization can grow in a very democratic way. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much. I just wanted to remind you of the word empowerment. He said, Mr. Roy very subtly saying in Reliance Group, before Peter came and got empowerment in large way, Mr. Roy Ambani had done it with shareholders, employees, and some of the managers. Now many of the MNCs are coming back and telling, oh, we are not too much empowered. How do we empower our grassroots level employees? James, up to you.
There are three questions that will be very, very short on each one of them. One is Indian pharma industry lagged in innovation because too much emphasis on reverse engineering. What is going to be done? One is, I will say that Indian pharma industry has made tremendous progress. We have got more than 100 US FDA approved plant, which is highest outside US. And there are three kinds of innovation which we talked about: product, process, and people. We have done a great job in process innovation so far, because we are the lowest in terms of cost for many of the drugs in the world, whether it is antibiotics, anti-tuberculostatics, anti-hypertensive. Now, every company realizes that the future is R&D innovation. A lot of work which is being done by Brahmas, Dr. Reddy's, Biocon, and we should be able to see some new drugs coming from India. Important thing from Indian point of view, we have to encourage intellectual property protection, and that is what we need in the Indian ecosystem that will encourage innovation. That's question number one. Question number two is, pardon? Yeah. That's one part. Second is ability of Indian entrepreneurs to invest from future point of view, because we are interested in short-term success. A new drug costs $1 billion, and we don't have the wherewithal at this particular moment. So it is important to play what kind of game we should play in healthcare innovation. It's a subject by itself. I was in a seminar last week. In fact, we have every month one seminar on innovation. So the important thing is what game to play and how to play that game. And we can discuss it separately. The second point is, in India, many of the drugs are out of reach of the people. Insurance is not very big thing in this country. There are a lot of things which are happening in this country. Many of us are not aware of. Last Swasth Bima Yojana. There are 31 crore people who are covered from last Swasth Bima Yojana. And everyone who is below poverty line can get a card which is 3,000 rupees free treatment you can get. We are making progress. We can progress it faster, but insurance is going to play an important role in times to come. That is a big thing. It takes time in this country, but we make progress, right? The third part is that there are very few innovations in this country. Project Shakti or Arvind Hospital, these are documented ones. But if you say Marico has got innovation award every year, and when you hear Marico Innovation Award, you see a lot of new things happening in this country which we are not aware of. In fact, Professor Anil Gupta, he has set up glass root innovation, and there is a lot of work which is being done in IIM Ahmedabad, where they are trying to put together document innovation. If I go in every company today, in fact, what we require is documentation of innovation and learning from innovation.
I think this question has already been talked about. It talks about how do you see Indian education system as an obstruction for innovation? Is the education system an obstruction? I believe that I tend to look at it as glass half full or glass half empty. Right? I'm a person who's more positive minded, so I would like to see it as half empty, and we need to keep doing more of. Typically, again, when these kind of questions are asked, is creativity being promoted within the education system? Creativity again is different from innovation. There are two people who need to be creative, but you still need to go through the rigor of education and methodology, all those things to get the innovation to fruition. A lot of things are happening, and your educational institution itself is an example of that. Now, I heard from the students that they are starting on a fresh blank sheet of paper and starting to think differently, and more needs to happen definitely. but I'm sure we all will make it happen.
I think I'll just, my teacher asked a question, does IP, Professor Ranganathan, you are the Professor of Economics, that's really IP, does it lead to innovation? I'm very positive, very optimistic. I want to say Rallo, who was in the Jackwell Center, did very well, now is in Albany, New York. Most of the MNCs, same people who work here, they are output, and the same people they work in headquarters or in the global research centers, measurably it's quite different. So it is shocking. You will find the same Indians having 5 patents. The moment they come back to India, you find no patents. Even if company gives the same reward or more reward, that is not shocking. I'm today remembering my great mentor who is no more, Dr. Bhavanda. I don't know how many of you knew. He was holding the ITC chairperson of research. I was working in BPL. Proactively in 96, 97, I said, sir, you want to talk about technology management innovation? Yeah, you guys are doing well, market leadership, why you want me? I said, sir, I don't know why you want. Just come and study. He did about 7-8 workshops with our technology team. After 6 months he comes back, he says, I'll get Ramu Ganguly, ex-Livers man. He is doing on patent, let him teach. I said, why are you getting so concerned? He said, are you aware? LG has come. In a year, they have patented 60 patents in India. 3 years down the line, BPL will have everything that you do, you have to take LG's permission. Today you are the market leader, tomorrow you are no one. Bhavanda is not there anymore. He was the professor of PMDC and Indian Institute of Science PhD. He looked at patents 10-15 years back when the early liberalization was happening. Very sensitive. We can go on. I think I want to link. I know students have questions. My request is keep it open during the break time. Professor Janak, before we all came to the dais in a very subtle way, he offered some space to all the thought leaders here, and we are going to talk in the afternoon. He talked about collaboration. I am here, I am inclusive. We have foreign collaboration. You, the thought leaders here, do you have something to offer? Why I am bringing it back 1990-91. I did a lot of research in Bhubaneswar, right from all over the country. Collaboration for stimulating research. I am simply liberalization time. I was teaching HRM. I went to CISR labs, I went to ICR labs. I remember going to RRLs. I met about 150 scientists. I am not a scientist, I am a literature graduate, I understand meeting those scientists. I said, oh, how are you fostering collaboration? He says, our idea is to collaborate. I am afraid we are frog in the well. Even if you want to collaborate, we don't have anybody to collaborate. That was 20 years back. So my last question, purely on optional basis, starting with the basis, and panel can choose. Are you fostering collaboration? Like Professor Janat's offer, that I am eager, I am an academic institution, I am eager to collaborate with all of you. I am willing to collaborate. What is the space for collaboration? Do you do that? Does it lead to innovation? 1 or 2 lines each and then we'll close with my summarizing. Only there is no posing, you can take on.
So, see, collaboration, classic example is open source. See, without collaboration, open source doesn't exist. And the pace of progress accelerated if you do collaboration. That is true for collaboration with customers, collaboration with your colleagues, and collaboration with your suppliers. So, the pace part of the 5 frameworks I talked about is backing upon collaboration as a factor.
You want to tell your example? Since we talked yesterday, on top of Stanford 1 and 1.
Yeah. There is a study by Stanford University, which is studying the health of the textile industry SMEs in the Maharashtra region to ensure how they become getting the fundamentals right in financial management and basic management. And that's being executed out of a project from my current company. And we are educating the owners of SME companies, small and medium enterprises, to be self-sufficient in management fundamentals.
This is in case you are aware of any collaboration, do you set out, do you do in academic institutions, do you design?
In our industry also, the collaborations always do exist, be it a collaboration between company and the institutions or, as you say, the customer or the vendor. So I believe that is a complete value chain, and in this value chain, everybody has to participate, and this relation between vendor or supplier, that kind of situation has gone away. So collaboration is highly needed, and then only we as a team can progress, or society or the country.
So I know you have.
As far as collaboration is concerned, I think the success of Reliance is based on that. We always collaborate with our partners. We have a very tough starting point because when we start collaborating, we ensure that we are getting the very best out of them. Some of them hate us for being worse than the Chinese. Sorry, no offense to the Chinese, but we're supposed to be like that. But I think it comes from the pragmatic way in which we do business. Because at the end of the day, if you're getting into a relationship, that relationship has to be such that every stakeholder must benefit from it, and the shareholders should also believe that it is a good collaboration that we got into. Having said that, as a kind of a very helicopter thing about collaboration, let me get down to specifics. I mean, I've heard about what kind of collaborations we could do. Yes, in the whole ecosystem of Reliance, there are so many collaborations that we can get into with your institute over here, but I've just realized that there's something very interesting that is happening over here, which is the focus as far as rural is concerned. And let me just take your attention away from this big, conglomerate called Reliance, which is all into oil and gas and retail and soon into digital. Let me just talk about the smallest little thing, which is in the area of Reliance Foundation, which actually has taken a very major step and has very quickly taken up 5 important tasks in that rural development and rural engagement is a very big part of it. And there is this whole program which is called BIJ. BIJ is Bharat India Jodo, and the whole effort is actually to try and bring the expertise wherever we have of Reliance into the hands of the farmers. Now, our chairman has said this, that he will, I can't quite quote exact words, but his point is that he's waiting for the time when we as Indians will start respecting the farmer, and we will actually start saying that actually should be the first choice of the profession, not one where you believe that you're doomed in life and therefore you're a farmer. In that, we believe that we are looking for people, and we're looking in ways in which we can enrich the life of the farmer to empower them. And if we can actually get into a collaboration of that nature, since there is so much of focus over here, and where Reliance Beach and this institute can work together, if there are students over here who actually want to go out and work and not think of innovation sitting in the classroom, then I think we can do something.
Thank you, Roy sir. It was a leading question, good that. And now there's an award to youngsters. Please grab it, Mr. Roy, before he goes. Come up with concrete ideas and take it forward. Thank you very much. He's saying Mukesh ji is already proactive about that. He's going to sponsor. You take the lead and come back to him. Jain sir, over to you. Just telling that many of you may remember ITC has done a lot of area, and what Mukesh ji and Roy sir was saying, there is opportunity to reach out to a larger community. Are you interested? Jain sir.
Basically, collaboration, according to us, is the center for innovation, because you can't do anything alone. Abbott as a company has got collaboration with Indian companies like Bacon and Zydus. We have got collaboration with some of the leading educational institutions in the country, like National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, and some of the universities. We collaborate with some of the customers, leading customers, Dr. Bond Diabetes Center. Till now, we have done very limited collaboration with management institutes at the moment, but perhaps that will be the focus area for the future. In India, abroad we do a lot of collaboration.
Thank you, Jain sir.
Yeah, I think these days the industry academia collaboration is continuously increasing. Even within our organization, though we are very technology focused organization, we have a lot of collaborations with Institute of Science, IIT Mumbai, University of Pune, National Chemical Laboratories in Pune. I mean, these are all the part of the ecosystem. Unless you collaborate with the external institutes, you don't grow, because the R&D funds are limited. What you can grow and invest within your organization is very limited, and a lot of ideas actually are there outside. And this is one more key thing that everybody needs to keep in mind and grow.
Thank you. So 20, I can republish my paper. Thank you. Can we give a big hand to the panel, please? So, many of you will have questions. I took liberty Beyond this, I'll get a football kick and go rolling down. Just want to summarize two ways. I think both there are two sides of the coin. All the panel members in their own way, they said you are likely to innovate, provided 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Is first starting with their attitude, risk taking. I think whatever Professor Janath has been saying, and many of you are telling in the classroom on the corridor, taking risk, being entrepreneurial, handling failure, perseverance, and overall a positive attitude to take the organization and step forward. That is one. Second thing, I think all the speakers are saying in their own way, we have had challenges, but we didn't give up. We are here in spite of the challenges. We are here in spite of the failure, but we had a purpose, we had a vision, we wanted to make a difference. And you can see the fire in the belly, we still want to continue to make a difference, take the country to the great heights. I just went to Beijing and came back, I was telling Professor Janab, he said I was feeling shattered. I knew India is corrupt.